Now it's 8 minutes past 8, and this morning a decision was expected today on whether an East Yorkshire company that provides dogs for medical experiments could expand into puppy breeding. 40,000 people were against the plans by the company when East Riding Council last looked at them. Then they turned them down, but B&K have appealed and are due to hear whether they'll be successful later today. B&K Universal currently buys in puppies and rears them at the site in Grimston. David Gatehouse says they're not wanting to start anything new.
Well, we're waiting for permission to establish a new breeding unit, which we hope to set in motion as soon as possible, in order to breed dogs on site rather than transport them in from abroad. We need to update our breeding facilities, and for that reason we stopped some years ago and now seeking to breed again. Nothing is starting that hasn't gone before. We will continue to supply dogs to biomedical research in the UK, whatever the verdict. We just want to do so within far higher standards of welfare, accommodation and husbandry.
Well, with us in the studio now is Alex Irving, scientific spokesperson for the group known as Opposing B&K Universal. Morning to you, Alex.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today. Yesterday I went round to B&K Universal.
Yes.
They invited me to go and have a look around the place.
Okay.
I don't suppose you've been round yourself, no. What's your issue with what they're trying to do with expansion?
Okay. Well, firstly, I would just like to make it clear that I'm not here as an individual, and that I represent not just Opposed B&K Universal, but that I'm the spokesperson for a large number of leading scientists, oncologists, specialists, cancer researchers, and a growing number of NHS doctors, as well as the editor of the British Medical Journal. And they're all saying, and I've spoken to many of them this week in the lead up to this decision, that they want to make it clear that they are opposed to the further expansion of the breeding of animals, whether it's rats or dogs, because it actually harms medical advancement. It's the direct cause of the delay of the discovery of cures for chronic diseases, cancer, Alzheimer's. So it's been going on for 200 years, but we're now ready to drop it. The scientists want to drop it. And the reason why is because it's now absolutely proven with evidence, and these are all scientists saying this, not me, that an animal cannot predict for the human response. So when you're trying to discover cures and study diseases and work out if a drug is going to be effective, how it affects the body of an animal, and then you get data. If you use that data and apply it to a human, it will either not work or it will harm a patient.
You can see where the difficulty comes from here, because yesterday I'm told by the people at B&K Universal that their scientists are telling them that there is no other way, and if there was, they would be doing it.
Yes.
You're saying your scientists are saying something completely different. And as a member of the public, an outsider, who am I to believe?
Absolutely.
It's hard.
It is extremely hard, and that's why I'm really welcoming this opportunity, and the scientists are welcoming this opportunity, because the public need to know that there is a huge controversy going on here. It's as big as global warming between two sets of scientists, fracking, Is it global warming? Isn't it? Is animal testing benefiting human medicine? Isn't it? The scientific community is split around the world and in the UK. Now, this debate should be played out in the public, because if we're asked as the public to endorse the cruelty of animals because we are told it benefits humans, then that's a different issue. If there is a scientific community which I'm in touch with, and it's very large, and they don't use animals. They've stopped using animals, these scientists. We're not talking about something in the future. We're talking about amazing biotechnologies which are human relevant, and they're being used now. And these scientists are saying this needs playing out in the public, because the public are misled to believe that the whole scientific community are speaking with one voice. And when you listen to people at B&K and David Gatehouse, who is a PR for them, they are saying these animals are needed and they benefit. Well, actually, you've got a whole raft of scientists who are 21st century scientists saying, not because they care about animal cruelty, but they're saying it doesn't work and it is a direct cause of the delay of discovery for cures for cancer. And we've all got cancer in our family and friends. We've all got these diseases. I'm not here saying we shouldn't be looking for these cures. I'm as affected as anybody else. But if we are using the wrong tool and it's known to be ineffective and harming, and there are loads of examples I can give you where that misleading information has killed people. People who have taken painkillers, they've been killed by it in their thousands. Clinical trial volunteers, they risk their lives when they go and test a drug. Now, at the moment, the law says, well, you must test it on animals to check it's safe, so that these humans are not vulnerable to take something which is going to harm them. It's actually doing the opposite. You take the data from an animal, from a rat and a dog, and then you apply it to clinical trial volunteers, and I can give you a raft of examples, there isn't time here, where actually it harms them or maims them or...
Okay, well, why are you upset with B&K though? Because, as you just said, any drug needs to be tested on an animal first. That's the law.
It's the law, yes.
It's the law, so we accept that, all medical drugs. And so B&K didn't make that law.
No, they didn't.
B&K are at the moment shipping animals in from the United States.
Yeah.
And they want to change that. They want to breed them on site.
Yes.
That's what they're applying for this new unit to do. Surely that's better for the animals.
No, not really.
What, travelling from America to take part in versus being bred here?
I think,
assuming that this is going on.
I think what we should be looking at is what is better for humans. If we are accepting, we shouldn't be worried about how upset animals are travelling. If we're not upset that the experiments that they are being put...
what I mean is, are you targeting the wrong people? Should you not be targeting science
it's part of it. We are. It's the whole thing. The whole thing. We've got 83 MPs in Parliament, and these people aren't fools, and they are listening to scientific evidence presented by these leading people and saying this is the debate we need to have. The scientific community, the modern scientific community, say we need to stop, not because of animal cruelty, but because the funding, and there's billions of money going into this, it's creating a lot of wealth for B&K and for the animal experimentation industry. Now that funding should be going into human-based research, which already exists. I mean, I've got SME companies that I represent all around the country. These are biotech labs who are just doing human-based development technologies and using it to fantastic effect, because we're now in personalised medicine era. We're looking to predict a human response using human tissue and human tumour cells and growing mini organs on chips and so on. We shouldn't be saying, well, that rat can predict for a human. It's a Victorian assumption, and what's more, there has never been scientific evidence for it, and that's what the British Medical Journal says.
It just seems like that's a bigger issue you need to discuss, and we've admitted that needs to be, there's a debate, there needs to have that debate. But in the meantime, when they're talking about making the lives of these animals better by breeding them here and not shipping them in, it's hard to see what they're doing wrong.
Okay, forget the shipping in thing. Let's just look at...
that's important, isn't it? That's part of the quality of life.
Why are we talking about the quality of life of an animal that's going to be sort of, experimented on? And let's
we're talking about suffering, aren't we?
Well, one of the things that they will say, scientists will say, well, we don't want them stressed. And B&K will say, we don't want them stressed. Now, that's because when animals are stressed, as we are, we release all these sort of chemicals into our body, and it interferes with the data. So if they are saying, oh, it's all about animal welfare, it's not, it's about the outcome to the experiment. They'll say, oh, that's confusing.
Well, as a member of the public, I don't want them stressed for very different reasons. I don't want to think that they've had to travel that way, and it's one less stress, isn't it?
As a member of the public, shouldn't your priority be trying to discover cancer and Alzheimer's and not put people's lives at risk?
This is about this argument. This is about breeding them here. This is about expanding a facility.
Well, there's a doctor that I was speaking to earlier this week who is an accident and emergency doctor in the NHS, and he wrote to the government, as many of them did, and said, my problem with B&K is that if we expand animal breeding, we're then expanding animal experimentation, and this further entrenches an invalid way of medical research, and it is delaying and putting back and harming the progress of medical health. So his issue is further entrenchment, old-fashioned ways, more dogs, more experiments. We're turning the clock back 200 years. This is the 21st century, and these are doctors saying that. They're saying we've got the technologies now. You know, this is what we should be using. And the problem with the law is it's 70 years old. Now, 70 years ago, they didn't have the evidence that an animal doesn't predict for the human body.
Okay. Let me just tell you what B&K told me yesterday.
Okay.
They said animal testing goes on. It is law that drugs need to be tested on animals. It does go on. What they are asking for is planning permission to build a better unit which is more suitable and better for the animals.
Well,
why would you block that?
Because the principle of further entrenching a system of medical research that is broken, and these are oncologists saying it's broken, a system that doesn't work and that harms medical progress. If everybody is saying we should do the best we can to be for healthcare and to improve medicine, we shouldn't be saying, well, let's carry on this way. It doesn't work, but let's keep the animals in a better condition. The bigger picture is the law needs updating with current science, because it's out of date with current science, and the welfare of animals should be taken out of this. That's an emotional aspect. We should be looking at healthcare. We should be looking at discovery of cures. If scientists are held back, they've got all this fantastic digital technology. That's the bigger picture.
Okay.
And if you further entrench a system that's broken, why? I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. And the motives are there's billions and billions of pounds at stake here.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Alex Irving from the Hull-based group opposed to B&K Universal, the East Yorkshire company that provides dogs for medical experiments. They want to expand into puppy breeding. The company expect to hear today or tomorrow if their appeal to expand their site has been successful. And we will, of course, as soon as we hear that news, bring you here on Radio Homicide. It's 8:20.